Scientist Bruce Banner desperately seeks a cure for the gamma radiation that contaminated his cells and turned him into the Hulk. Cut off from his true love Betty Ross and forced to hide from his nemesis General Thunderbolt Ross, Banner soon comes face to face with a new threat, a supremely powerful enemy known as the Abomination. Hey everyone, welcome to Watchers Week, a podcast where we're going to review and discuss all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies leading up to the release of Marvel's The Avengers Infinity War coming out May 4th, 2018. It's a nerdy show for nerdy people, because that's who we are and that's who we care about. My name is Steven, and I'm here with my fellow watchers. You know him, you love him, it's Dr. Cosmic. What's up, Doc?
What's going on? You know what? I'm feeling pretty Hulk-like, pretty beastly. You could say that I'm feeling like a monster.
And tagging along, as always, we've got Tim.
Don't make me triggered. You wouldn't like me when I'm triggered.
Watchers, this week we're continuing our journey to infinity by talking about 2008 Incredible Hulk, directed by Louis Leterrier. Guys, what did you think?
There's so much to talk about this film. Even though it came out in 2008, it holds up pretty good. Um, we were discussing about it a little bit off air, but we were comparing the CGI to some films that came out in 2015, namely Ninja Turtles. I think that the fact that those movies came out at a later date and this one was 2008, so it's a little bit older. The fact that the CGI can still compete with films that came out around 2015, 2016, I mean, that's pretty good.
Uh, I really held this movie under a microscope because I love this movie. So I kind of really wanted to give myself a subjective opinion on it. And I could understand how some people, the first viewing of it, it didn't meet their expectations. However, I think it requires just a second chance at it and watching it all the way through. And yeah, I think I still think this is the better Hulk movie. It's definitely better than Ang Lee's Hulk movie. So that's definitely a step up into my opinion.
Right. I was watching this movie, and I think my favorite part about it was the introduction. In 2 minutes and 40 seconds, we see everything like a backstory, the state of mind of our character, Easter eggs of Fury and Stark. And it's interesting because the guy who did the Spider-Man intros of Tobey Maguire also did this intro beginning. And it's just beautiful how we don't have to know anything about the character. I mean, everybody, I should say, everybody knows everything about Hulk. I mean, you turn angry, you don't like
Wait,
him.
so the Sam Raimi guy who did the little intros with like the all the little cuts and stuff like that, he did this also?
Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah, and it's great
Oh,
because
geez.
everybody knows Spider-Man and everybody knows Hulk. So all you have to do is say like everybody. You don't have to talk about Uncle Ben dying. You don't have to talk about how Bruce gets into detail of his gamma radiation. You're just there. You're like, I know it. Let's do it. Let's get into the action, which is what this movie does.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly the way this movie starts is how I hope uh, they'll handle Fantastic Four in the future. But a lot of movies should be like this. They should just jump in straight into the film because a lot of these characters, I mean, we know who these guys are. With Iron Man, it was a little bit different. We needed to see his origin, and plus, he has a pretty compelling origin. But with Hulk, his origin is pretty straightforward. It's mostly his journey as Bruce Banner and struggling to be the Hulk that is the more interesting story. So we don't really need to see him get shot up with gamma rays. So the way they did it was awesome.
Yeah, also because and this is kind of a soft reboot with a bit of a sequel. I guess a requel, from Ang Lee's Hulk because it kind of picks up where that one, kind of explored a bit. And if you liked Ang Lee's Hulk, you can kind of continue the ride with this one. Whereas if you had some problems with it, this tries and cleans those edges up a bit.
And we got the one, the only Hulk voice, Lou Ferrigno.
Right. I mean, that scene where he's the security guard is pretty amazing to have him back. Because he was a security guard in the other one, right? The 2003 Hulk.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah, he was walking. He was walking side by side with Stan Lee in that one. And when he actually showed up on screen, I remember when we were watching this in the theater. I missed his lines completely because everybody was kind of like, all like, oh hey, and pointing and everything. It's like that because then kind of a little bit of clapping and everything going on. So I totally just like, what? What did he say? What's going on? And I was like, oh,
Right.
he took the pizza. Okay.
it wasn't
Yeah.
until I actually got home, put captions on, and played the movie myself with headphones that I was able to understand Lou Ferrigno in my own peace and quiet at home. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, Tim.
But yeah, like in retrospect, I love Mark Ruffalo, but for me, Lou Ferrigno has the superior Hulk voice. So, yeah, I was just so glad that he was able to uh, contribute by portraying the Hulk.
And I like Mark Ruffalo as well, but he's not the kind of guy this movie would have wanted. Edward Norton played the running fugitive Bruce Banner so well. It's amazing. I mean, I can't imagine seeing Edward Norton as a scientist working alongside Tony Stark, but having
Well,
him like backdoorsy doing it. Go ahead.
Well, to be that I know that actually Leterrier wanted Mark Ruffalo to be in this as the Bruce Banner one, but it was Marvel Studios, or I guess before they were really Marvel Studios, that they insisted on Edward Norton. But Mark Ruffalo was one of the runners for being played as Bruce Banner, so we would have gotten him kind of early, actually, and things would have meshed well a little bit more better together when they recasted him in Avengers. I think also the other person they considered was a Steve Deshanovy, or I forget. He's the one who plays Fox Mulder on X Files. I forget the actor's name.
Really?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Which I feel like he could have played. He played. They all fit the kind of nerdy stereotype.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know about Mark Ruffalo being up for the role. What I did know though is with Letario, is it Letario?
Leterrier, like the dog.
Oh, Leterrier. Um, I know
I mean,
that,
I'm sure it sounds better when you say it with a French accent, but
right.
that's how I say it.
um, I know that he originally wanted to do a more avant-garde type of movie with this type of story. I mean, more of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, uh, a psychological thriller. But then, Marvel had other plans. Uh, they were focusing more on tying their films more together and being more like the comic books. But I thought that was interesting that this psychological thriller that he could have, possibly made.
Right. And remember, we this is the only like Hulk film in the MCU. Everything else, he's just a background character in all the other movies. And it's
Right.
interesting that you mentioned him, Mark Ruffalo, is because I've always had this theory that Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo are two in the same persons. They're the same person. Like we still see Bruce Banner in all these movies. This Incredible Hulk is connected to the Disney line because it's not in the official theatrical cut, but there is a scene. You can YouTube it probably where it's toward the end where it shows Edward Norton in the Arctic, and he takes a gun to his head. And of course, Mark Ruffalo mentions this as well in Avengers, um, where he takes a gun to his head and blows his head off, but then the Hulk spits the bullet out. And I
Well,
always
so
thought, like, well, I mean, how is that possible? Unless it really did blow his face off and the reconstruction like transformed him into Mark Ruffalo. like
Right.
different facial.
uh, unless I see a deleted scene of that, or Ken Feige gets on a camera and mentions that, I would put that in still in the theory category. But I totally think Marvel is proud of this movie. I mean, they released a soundtrack for it, so you could like listen to it and everything. Like you said, they could always reference it and everything. This was definitely, even though um, it's not exactly falls flesh into what they ended up with and what they're sticking with. I feel like that Marvel's still proud of it, and it does fall into the MCU technically, and it definitely comes in the box sets and everything. So I still think that they feel like they did a good job with it.
Yeah, and I love how we got to see Banner struggling not only to hide from the government and other people that are chasing him, but we really got to see like the emotional side of Bruce Banner, which is always really great. I mean, that's what the original TV series did, was it gave us that emotionality, and that's what lets all of us connect to his character and sympathize with him. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's just great. Even the
That
ensemble
you
with
said
oh yeah, what?
the director treated this like a thriller horror movie, and it very much so treats Hulk like the monster he is. He isn't really a hero per se. I mean, the beginning scene where they're in the soda factory in Rio, and the whole like glimpses we see of him, and they do this with Abomination when he finally comes in the movie. You get, and the more focused you are on the people on the ground, and you're like catching glimpses of him. It reminds me of like Godzilla or like the
Yeah,
alien signs.
yeah,
It's
it's like a horror movie.
it's pretty great.
And it definitely fits the style of what Universal Studios is, because this is like only the I think the only one, because Universal still has the rights to Hulk, so this is the only MCU movie that isn't done by Paramount. So, and Universal has all the monster movies under their belt, so having Hulk kind of with them, it fits because it fits the tone of what kind of a solo Hulk movie would be.
I mean,
Well, yeah, Universal does own all those monsters, so we know Hulk was birthed from monsters such as Frankenstein and Jekyll and Hyde. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's not really cool that they own him because we'll probably never get another solo film, but it's cool that he started there, or at least had a good start, because we had the, like you mentioned, the Ang Lee movie, which wasn't so good.
Yeah, yeah. But
But oh, what?
I was just gonna still mention that whole beginning part in Brazil. Like, I feel like that was a good chunk of the movie where it goes from Brazil and then ends up in Mexico and then like heads to the pizza place.
right? Yeah, yeah. A funny thing about that pizza joint is that the scene with Stan Lee, the actual Jack Kirby Stanley, it was the
Jack
last
Kirby
shot.
Stanley.
Jack Kirby Stanley, he owns him. He took the rights away. No, but the Jack Kirby Stanley was actually the last shot done of this movie, uh, and that may be why we get a Stan Lee's pizza joint and an old guy that looks like Stan Lee. But actually, that guy, what's his name? His name is a Paul Souls. Was actually the voice of Spider-Man in the '60s TV show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think
it, it
anybody
isn't he like the first voice actor that portrayed him?
first ever a voice actor, like that's the voice that kids heard back in the '60s of Spider-Man. Before there was nothing else.
The one that all the like those memes are based off of.
Right, the one sitting behind the desk
yeah,
with a picture of himself, something like that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and of
yeah.
course, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna mention. So they shot the pizza scene because they're like, oh, we can't get Stanley or something like that, or Stanley's old, he won't come out here and stuff like that, and then he shows up. So then they like get to do that soda scene.
Right. Yeah, he was like 83 years old back then, and so he was a busy guy doing Comic-Con trips and everything. So they weren't planning, they wanted to, but I guess they weren't planning on it. They were like, next best thing, Paul Souls. I hope
Well,
I'm saying,
and we'll call him Stanley,
yeah.
and we'll make him look like him. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Stanley, the pizza guy, he deserves his own movie because he was like straight up like, would this movie continue at all if he didn't like help out Bruce Banner? Like he helps him out, and then he's like, "Hey, what you hear about Betty?" And he's like, "Oh, he's dating this therapist lady or therapist. She's not therapist." Um, and like yeah, or a psychiatrist. Is he a therapist or a psychiatrist? I don't know. But like yeah, and then all that whole, and then has the meeting there and stuff like that. Like we need a whole Stanley the Pizza Guy movie. I feel like let's have you know how they
Well,
Marvel's doing those like little one offs kind of thing
Right.
yeah.
with the mandarin and stuff like that. And Agent Coulson, yeah, let's have one about Stanley the Pizza Guy. I would
No,
totally
no,
watch.
no. We need a Howard the Duck movie, and then we get a council. We call it the Council of Stan, and
And
we
he's
just get
added.
we get all the Stan Lees from all the MCU cameos he's had. The Watchers one. I'm talking all of them.
Well, but the Stanley in this one is dead.
Right.
Well, Howard the Duck will probably just give Doctor Strange a phone call, and then he'll be like, "Hey, we need the full Council of Stan here."
Um, the part with the pizza scene, the pizza alley scene, where what's her name? Liv Tyler, Betty
Liv
Ross,
Taylor.
Liv Taylor,
Tyler.
Tyler.
Tyler. I'm saying Betty Ross. Her name's Betty from now on. When Betty sees Bruce Banner, Edward Norton for the first time, it's truly remarkable, I think, on both actors' parts. First, where Bruce sees her in the college park, and he just like stiffens up and like hides away and like holds his heart and like just you like they don't say anything. They don't have to say anything, and you know their relationship. It's true love. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy what they were able to establish with just like a look. I mean, of course, people were familiar with these characters because of the Ang Lee movie. And I still remember a couple of my friends were so confused because they thought that this was actually a sequel to the Ang Lee movie. And I was like trying to explain to them, no, no, it's this thing
Well,
called a reboot.
it's called.
People
Well, it
were,
kind of is a sequel.
I mean, I don't know, not
That's
really.
that's why we have the wonderful requel phase I dropped. It's a
The,
reboot and a sequel. It's a requel.
yeah, but I mean, like how the Gamma experiment was a little bit different.
Right. Well, that's why they redid it in the little opening credits. We didn't have to see that whole opening thing again.
Yeah.
That's why I don't consider it a reboot because it's not shot for shot or step by step the same movie. It continues on.
Um, and then we get Ty Burrell's character later on, Doc Samson.
What?
Oh,
I was such a little nerd growing up because uh, none of my friends knew who Doc Samson was, and I was like, yes, Doc Samson. But in retrospect, I'm kind of glad that that character didn't stick in the MCU because I'm not too sure about how I would have felt being a beefcake.
I think
You
Edward. Oh, go ahead, Cian.
I was gonna say you might have to remind me of who Dr. Samson is because I thought that was just the guy from what's that show? Malcolm in the Middle? No, it's
Doc Samson. I'm not too sure.
Man,
Um,
hitting it out of the park with that reference, Steven.
right. What's that fool's name? It's the one where it's a family and it's the old guy and
We'll get back to you.
yeah. I know.
Doc Samson is a character from the comics, Marvel comics, and he basically
Not
Modern
DC, are you
Family.
sure?
no, not DC. They have their own doctors. They have fates and stuff like that. But yeah, he basically acquires Banner's power, but he only acquires a small portion of it. Um, and I'm pretty sure he never reverts. He kind of just stays in between being like a man and He mostly looks like a man. He doesn't look like he's not green or anything,
Oh, is that
but
the
his hair
blonde?
is green. Yeah,
Oh,
his hair is green, and he has a ponytail, and yeah, he's pretty cool.
oh, that guy, that guy. Okay, okay. The ponytail guy, ponytail Hulk. Right,
Yeah,
right. I always thought that was just the '80s Hulk. The '90s
no,
guy with
no, but
half.
yeah, like Ty Burrell. When I first saw this movie, I was trying to imagine him with green hair and being all ripped, and I was like, I'm not really getting there. It's not really working.
Well, then,
But
if this the guy would have been who he was in the comics, we would have had three different people with Hulks. Like we would have like four Hulks in the movie. We would have the Samuel Stearns leader. We would have Emily Blonsky's Abomination Hulk, and now that guy. It would have been way too many Hulks.
yeah,
Too
I mean,
many Hulks in the case.
yeah, but yeah, it's cool how they set up a sort of Superman Returns type of thing where Betty is with Doc Samson because so many years have passed, and you know, uh, I think she thinks that Bruce is like either dead or just like totally off the grid. So I mean, obviously she's moved on with her life. But yeah, so that obviously sets up a little love triangle later on.
Does it?
Um,
Barely though. Like
yeah,
it's
barely. Well, I don't think Bruce kind of like does a little sneak attack because I don't think Doc Samson is aware of Betty's feelings for Bruce until a little bit
I'm,
later.
I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
I was
Go
gonna say
ahead.
when he leaves the pizza place, he like is hitchhiking, right? And then she's just happening to go down the same road. Did her and the guy go in different cars, or like did he go a different way, or like what's going on? Like it seemed a little serendipitous on how like that all worked out. I was just like, wait, what? How did we get here? And where are we going from it?
I love that scene. It's gonna be hard because it sounds like I'm just loving this whole Bruce Banner and Betty Ross kind of thing relationship, but it is. It's so true the way he stops in front of it, turns around, run to each other. She's like saying, "Don't go," and he's like, after he like stays with her, he looks at kind of at the camera slash to himself, and he's like feeling regret and instantly like, "You've doomed her. What have you done?" I totally love this Bruce Banner Betty Ross relationship, and also Thunderbolt Ross, who actually Dr. Sampson probably calls at that time. Tim, he probably went to go call Thunderbolt Ross because he shows up like right after that.
Right. Yeah. Um, we were talking about this a little bit off air. Uh, the chances of Betty Ross returning in later MCU films. I really hope she does. Even if they recast her, which I hope they don't. I hope they keep Liv Tyler, but I really hope Betty Ross returns some way, shape, or form because, like you said, their connection, their chemistry, or the relationship that they have is so impactful and electric that I mean, I was later on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. But later on, we eventually get Black Widow and Bruce sort of having a thing. Um, and I wasn't entirely that big of a fan of that um, relationship. It's sort of grown on me, but I need me some Betty and Bruce.
Yeah, I'm the whole that could be a love triangle too later on. It'd just be really hard now to introduce her. They missed their opportunity, but I'm glad I have this movie um, where they're at. Let's
I think that's where I'm gonna have to contradict with you guys. Um, Liv Tyler did a really. I think she's a good kind of like a good role for Betty Ross. But the thing is that they kind of wrote her weird. Like when he's explaining to her how the like government can track her, I'm like, she's a scientist. She's not completely like out of the loop. And then like they don't really have her do anything scientific. They kind of just have her stand around while uh the Mr. Blue, I forget what his real character's name is like
Samuel
trying.
Stearns.
Yeah, yeah. Stearns is trying to like do the experiment. She's just kind of standing around. So I'm like, well, you didn't you like do this the first time? And like even in that flashback scene, I think she's just standing around in there too. So they kind of like write her off as this like just the ditzy damsel in distress kind of deal. So I feel like maybe with better writing she'd be good. But then again with Steven and the whole Black Widow thing, and how Bruce doesn't mention her at all, even in the Avengers, like seeing her come back, I think they would lose the dynamic that MCU wants to do. So I think they're gonna just hold off on her.
Right. It's unfortunate, definitely. But we know Betty's dad, General Thunderbolt Ross, is in the MCU for sure, Disney and all. We see him in Civil War when he's talking about retiring the Avengers. And he is Thunderbolt Ross. I mean, we agree, right? That he's Thunderbolt Ross? Straight out of the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, straight
yeah.
up.
Throw a picture up on him because I want to take a look at that big bushy mustache. Like, dude, that's so dope.
All right, let me find
it. Which eventually we know he's gonna lose because he's gonna turn red.
Right, which is weird because where does it go? Where does it go? Does it transfer somewhere? Does it like recede back in, fall off? Is there
for those of you that don't know what we're talking about Red Hulk, in the comic books, Thunderbolt.
I think they would know.
Okay, hopefully, yeah. Just look it up. Just look up Red Hulk. There's a whole rainbow of Hulks,
which I appreciate now. I think they're doing in U.S. Avengers, the new comic book series where they bring back Red Hulk. I think he's leading the U.S. Avengers. They kind of like rewrote him now to having the mustache.
Really?
Really?
So now we have Red Hulk with like big old aviator glasses, and then like I think it's the black mustache because he has black hair. So yeah, it looks pretty dope. It's kind of I think they did it's kind of a little reminiscent about the cartoon they have, Agents of Smash, that came on like Disney or something like that. He
I forgot what he looked like in that one.
He doesn't have a mustache in that one either, but he like totes he like dual wheels akimbo style like these giant guns, and I think he does that in US Avengers.
I mean, the character that he plays, I gotta mention that William Hurt is a great actor, and this isn't him. This isn't William Hurt. I mean, William Hurt's balding, doesn't have a mustache, doesn't have those scars, wrinkles, so he had to sit for 2 hours for each shot doing makeup. It's pretty amazing just to do that with all that on and acting. Like, just paint him blue while you're at it, right? But the whole dynamic he has with Betty and Hulk, the part where in the college scene, using the helicopter and not, first of all, not taking Betty's their own person, but the way Tim describes her is right. It's kind of ditzy. Her whispery ASMR voice is so annoying sometimes, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that like he didn't keep track of her, even though he was in charge of the operation, and she like almost died without Hulk doing it, and her well-being is not in her forte. But we don't care because this guy is General Thunderbolt Ross. He's the nemesis of Hulk. He'll do whatever it takes to take him down.
Yeah, I kind of get a little bit of a Ahab kind of Ishmael kind of feel, white whale dynamic between General Ross and Hulk. I think there's a deleted scene that didn't make it to the theatrical cut where he's explaining in like the airplane carrier wherever they're at, that how he really wants Hulk and how they didn't like get him yet. And there's like he's like pounding on his chest and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, that's really good acting right there. But it didn't make it in, so it kind of I wish they would have kept that in because I feel like he's a good actor. I mean, good enough for them to let's not the Russo brothers let's not forget about this awesome character to bring him back in Civil War, like you said.
Right. His relationship with Emily. I don't want to say Emily Blonsky, but
Emil.
Sorry, Emil Blonsky. He was. Let me. I think I have a picture. There he is. Emil Blonsky is pretty amazing in this movie as well. He is probably the second actor probably in this movie next to Edward Norton. I should say Tim Roth is the second actor, but yeah, his character is amazing as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna talk about MCU villains, I would definitely have Emil Blonsky. I was fixing to say top five, but maybe I don't know.
He's up there.
He's up there.
I think he's so far up there that Whedon even considered bringing him back in Age of Ultron as kind of like something for the Hulk to do.
Right.
Really? Age of Ultron?
Yeah, I think they said that they were going to try to bring him in Age of Ultron, and I don't know. I don't know how exactly they were going to do that about, but my thinking is that they have him locked up wherever, and Ultron kind of like messes with that to get him free and like recruit him, kind of similar situation he does with Claw.
I thought it would have been, and this is just me speculating. I don't know. I don't have
no worries.
information.
I don't think anything was concrete. I think they just were considering it, and then they're just like, nah.
Right. I thought, if anything, they would introduce him or reintroduce him in Civil War, because I thought they were going to pull a whole
like
Dawn of Justice, right? Dawn of Justice type of thing where
they recruit the villains.
Yeah, at the very end, and he was going to be in the raft prison.
Like a cameo, a small cameo.
Right, and then
okay.
What's his name? The villain for Civil War, what was his name?
There is no villain in Civil War, was there? Well, Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo, there you go.
I was like, yeah, there was.
Yeah. I thought, it would be like a Lex Luthor type thing where he unleashes the beast, and it would have been Abomination. Which,
right.
I'm glad they didn't do. That's just what I thought they were going to do.
To talk about this character, he got a small dose of super soldier serum at the beginning. Not at the beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's where we get kind of the cool fight scene, like the closest thing we'll ever get to Captain America versus Hulk.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
The whole jumping around movie. He wasn't doing any damage, but it was still cool to see someone not die instantly when meeting the Hulk. But I was going to say the part with the college where he's running superhuman speed level, like passing by everybody. That wasn't no special effects. That was actually the actor Tim Roth using cranes and a pulley system and weights to get himself pulled forward, and also having to try to touch the ground, but not actually touch the ground, because then you'll get face first to the ground. But I thought like doing that, having those, the show with two CGI monsters toward the end used really a lot of stuntman and no practical effects whatsoever to make this movie look as real as it can be.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the behind the scenes.
That's crazy.
That was super awesome. I don't know how he moved his legs so fast. I mean, obviously there was probably some digital effect works, but
I just said no special effects. This man is amazing. This whole cast.
No, there was probably digital effects. What?
I don't know. I choose to believe that.
I was gonna say a lot, and then he also grabs like that like metal whatever, what's it called? Public art. I don't know what thing was he grabbed, and he like dual wheels that like he later does with the police cars, which was an awesome scene. But the whole time he's like grabbing stuff and using it to and it totally is like reminiscent like of I think one of those. Was it
the 2005 video game, the PS2 Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction?
I guess that's what I remember. It was a Hulk video game. I don't know the specifics.
Dude, that was a great video game. Horrible graphics nowadays, everybody will
Yeah.
barf.
It was a little like, yeah, but I'm sure that
I,
devs or whatever
I
weren't
have
working too hard on it.
I have fond memories of all the Hulk video games.
It's kind of like exactly what you want to do. It was like a very PG/PG-13 version of like a Grand Theft Auto, where you just go around beating stuff up. I mean, they had their own missions and stuff like that, but most of the time you were like, "Can I trash it up? Yeah, you can trash it up."
Right. This movie was pretty great. Of course,
Oh,
later
we got
on,
the really good cave scene.
right, just about to go in that read my mind,
I,
Doc.
I call I I call it the King Kong scene because it kind of reminded me of like a King Kong moment where it's just like, you know, Beauty
Yeah.
and the Beast, dynamic.
For some reason, that cave scene, Hulk looks very, very real. The CGI is seamless.
I
Um,
thought you were gonna agree with me and say he looks very, very small.
well, I mean, you could kind of like, I don't know, theorize in your head that, oh, maybe he's that way because Betty's with him, but uh, I I don't know. I think he was still the same size. He was kind of like hunched over.
He looks only as big as like some NBA players. I feel like because I'm assuming Betty isn't like 6 foot, whatever, and he's just like only like two heads taller than her. So I was like, he's not that big. Like he's pretty, just you know, he's just big, muscular wise. He's not that tall.
Right, he's just really just one giant muscle. Um, what it's a really great Hulk, I think. A lot of people don't think so, but this is basically we have to remember that this is not a separate entity of Bruce Banner. This is just Bruce Banner. We don't have the other guy like we do in Avengers. We just have one character who has a different side to him, I should say. How would you explain it?
I think I would explain it to in the sense that this is his more, again, how they mentioned it. It's still you, but your sensory is overloaded and stuff like that. This is more of his primal thing, because I think it mentions it a lot in the comics that Bruce likes the power. He just wants power. So this is kind of the side of himself that he gets to just let it out. I mean, it's just that's what Hulk is. He's angry. He's raged. So I feel like this is that just side of Bruce Banner that he keeps, kind of, it's just like, just that, inner self kind of, scenario.
Right.
Um, with the what's interesting though about the cave scene, I just remembered is that I remember some people saying because we knew that the Thor movie had been announced following this film, and uh, there was a theory going around that the scene with Thor trying to lift his hammer out of the mud when it's raining actually matches up with this scene of him in the cave and then the thunder striking and Hulk getting angry at the lightning and screaming into the rain. Um, so yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool that those two scenes aligned, and then those characters would later cross paths and fight in the Avengers.
DK, you just blew my mind. If that really does happen, if that really did happen, like if it was just subtle enough that way, it would. That's great. I don't know if they said they were somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, so I don't know where Thor took place. I think in Arizona, but who knows? If if that can happen, that would be a dream come true. Jeez Louise, that is really incredible.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
all about just uh, like what your mind uh, puts into it. So like some people will see that scene differently and will say, "Oh no, these scenes don't match." But I like to think they match because it just makes so much sense. Um,
if my idea that Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo are the same person, then that idea too makes sense.
but yeah, just I like the fact that the scene, following the cave scene, um, they just kind of put more not only emotionality but like physical pain into his transformation and when he transforms back into a human. Because I just remember him being so exhausted and him being in the shower, just like laying in the shower.
That's a cool scene
And
too when it does the little flashback. All the flashback little cuts are really cool too because it kind of fades right into it. The shower head into the little Gatling gun on the side of the chopper and all that.
right,
Black Hawk or
yeah.
whatever it was. I was like, dang, that's awesome.
And that's what I was going to say is that he goes through so much, not only transforming into the Hulk, but then what he experiences as the Hulk, because like what you were saying, his senses are heightened. So, I mean, he doesn't just see gunfire or feel it. I mean, he hears it 1,000 times louder than a human. So it's like if anybody has PTSD, it's gonna be Bruce Banner. Um, and it's just insane that he's able to later on control all of that.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was disagreeing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say there's also another scene, like that whole fade away, like Timothy was talking about, was when he was in the computer lab back at the college where he was looking on, and then it goes to his laboratory where he was when he was trying to find the data that turned him into the Hulk. I was thinking that in like the movie does in 20 minutes, um, Bruce Banner's way of living. He has this hope that this flower back in Rio would cure him. So he uses it all, tries everything, and he fails. Then he turns into the Hulk. He runs away. He disappears. Got to start a new life. Come again to Virginia, and you try to do it again. Try to get the data that Samuel Stern's Mr. Blue needs to cure him because there's hope. There's hope again for a cure and to get rid of this Hulk. And again, dashed away. It's pretty amazing to see Bruce Banner's way of life of this. And remember, I don't think this is the scientist Bruce Banner. This is more of the fugitive Bruce Banner.
Yep, Bruce on the run.
Bruce on the run.
I'm trying to think. I guess then we cut back to
After they go to the college, they're on the run and they go from the truck to the bridge.
yeah,
And
and then
they go see Mr. Blue.
well, what's his face? Emil Blonsky's character is kind of cutting through the whole movie, and he's like,
Oh yeah, where he's all broken and all that kind of stuff from the kick.
yeah,
Oh my
Which
god.
again, as a non-Disney movie, this movie has some, it's got some heft to it.
This is a
yeah,
PG-13 movie, and yet we get everything that we got from this movie. I mean, the whole like blurry, bloody face that he has when after he falls from the tree after being kicked into it by Hulk. It traumatized me. I was like, geez Louise, that guy's dead. He's not coming back, which made his revival oh so much better.
yeah. There's a lot of bones being broken, a lot of bones being pulled from bodies later on in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of bone action.
Right. We see
I was gonna say, calling back to that cave scene, this is kind of a bit of a fact check because I remembered it was a little bit familiar. That's actually like I think a scene or a panel from Hulk Gray, the one by Tim Sale. I think, and who's the writer for that one? Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
hmm, yeah, that's a
So
great.
that the grotto scene, that's a callback to that comic and stuff like that. So that's why I was just like, oh yeah, what's the thing? So there's a lot of homages, I think, not only to comics but also the TV show, which I feel like there's like just back to back to back throughout this thing. I mean, which makes sense because both of them share the same title and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that TV show is so uh, ingrained into a lot of people because I know that the only reason I watched it was because my dad watched it. So, of course, he showed it to me. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of other people are the same way where it was something their family watched and stuff like that. So, it's always good when they play off of something people are familiar with.
Right. Actually, a cool little tidbit. This is skipping exactly right toward the end, but when Bruce Banner gets his whole uh, condition, Iron Man would say, under control, and he's in like British Columbia, I think it was, and he has a package given to him that says David B, which is a reference to the TV show David Bruce Banner, uh, which they thought Bruce would be too feminine or something like that. They didn't like Bruce, so they're like David Banner is his name. So going under the alias of David B is another great homage to the TV show.
Yeah,
Which
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
I was it this movie? I forget if it's this movie when they're looking through some sort of file and they see Stephen Strange. Or am I getting that?
I think that's the only time they mention Stephen Strange is in like Spider-Man 2 and Winter Soldier.
Because I thought for sure.
They do mention the Captain America doctor guy.
Right. When General Ross was where is he? Oh, that's not that. Oh, that's not. General
gonna
Ross.
have to.
He was doing the experiments, and he had the formula under the title. Jeez, Louise, I had it. Dr. Reinstein, I think Reinstein, which is an alias used by Dr. Abraham Ernstine, the scientist who created the original super soldier serum, who was later played by Stanley Tucci or Tucci maybe in the first.
Oh, Stanley Tucci, yeah.
In the Captain America First Avenger movie, a lot of Stanleys in this movie if you think about it. But yeah, I thought that was a great reference to just add like 3 words, Dr. Reinstein and like Vita Rays, and you get like a whole freak out from the fans of the audience. Like that's really paying off to the audience.
Yeah, there was a lot of great Easter eggs.
Which that totally fits into the Marvel style of movie making. Like
Right.
this follows the same formula as they're doing right now.
I'm trying to think. Should we just jump to?
Well, I mean
the leader. I agree.
No, not the leader.
Because I was so stoked when they talked about him because he's the one I like kind of relate to as like Hulk's arch nemesis kind of in a way. So like I was like, man, I can't wait to see the leader come in.
Yeah, the leader, he's pretty cool, but there's a lot of other villains, Hulk villains that I kind of wanted to see more than the leader, but I mean the leader's a good one. But yeah, there's like you got the UFOs who are pretty cool, and now that Disney bought Fox, it would be pretty cool to see the Fantastic Four fight the UFOs since that's kind of like the Marvel formula. Oh, Hulk is gonna fight a bad Hulk. Iron Man is gonna fight a bad Iron Man. So.
Well, later I feel like is a different. He's kind of they're kind of like it does fall into the whole trope of opposite or dark version or any of that. Yeah.
The scene where Samuel Stearns kicks the machine, kind of like trying to Fonz it up, it always makes me laugh. That actor Tim Blake Nelson is such a great one. He did the Fantastic Four.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
because Chaz bringing up the UFOs in the Fantastic Four. I was like, he was also supposed to be Mole Man too. So man, he was gonna be all these great villains, and they always drop the ball with him. I'm like, you can't do him dirty like that, guys. Let's get him in a good villain role.
Yeah, which I'm glad. I'm kind of glad, he wasn't Mole Man because I can't see him as that character whatsoever. But it is kind of unfortunate that he can't seem to stick to anything.
I think now that Marvel's got the right back, we might see him eventually.
But yeah, we oh yeah, I think you say that or mention that. I think Kevin Feige actually brought that up recently in an interview. But anyway, should we just jump straight to the final battle? Cause
oh yeah, I mean we're basically there. because he goes straight from meeting the doctor, and they try on the experiment, which I have to give up props to. I think it's Kurt Williams is the special effects guy. I always forget who's the people working on these movies and stuff like that. Because, like I said, with the Iron Man, well, I guess with these early movies, because the hands always like, you know, are always passing it from each other, because you're like, oh wait, did he actually end up working on it? Anyway, but Kurt Williams, he does a great job on the special effects, because this is where you kind of like fully get to see the transformation. First one, it was all kind of dark, and the second one was all foggy. But this one is like you get to see it, and man, like, I thought that was like this. It made me squirm in my seat when I watched it.
Yeah, veins for days, dude.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, he goes straight from the doctor to doing the experiment, and then dropping from the plane, which was pretty cool. But I'm like, if like they should have known it worked. I mean, otherwise he would have just splatted on the cement. He wouldn't have created a crater. I would have been like, oh, okay, so he's Hulk now, like it worked out. But yeah, totally fight scene.
Right. Well, I was gonna say to mention right before that the scene where Bruce hurls himself out of the helicopter is where I think Banner becomes the hero because he sacrifices his freedom. He thinks that, or we think that Hulk is no more with the whole successful test that Samuel Stearns does on him, and so, but he has to conjure up the Hulk, not Hulk, but like try to initiate an episode to get the Hulk back. And he knows once he does that, it's right back to running, hiding, and being alone. So the fact that he was like, no, but I have to save people, I think is a true sign of a Bruce Banner becoming the hero.
Yeah, of him finally getting it under control. But yeah, him jumping out of the airplane was super cool. I remember seeing that for the first time in theater. Blew my mind. And then him smashing into the ground, because I thought he was going to transform in midair and then kind of do like a whole pose. But when he smashes into the ground,
he's going to do a superhero landing.
Yeah, he smashes into the ground. Everybody kind of gasped. But yeah, I think now that I think about it, I think Hulk is our first hero in the MCU to jump out of a plane. And then we would later get it with Iron Man and a few other characters in Avengers. And now we're going to get it with Black Panther pretty soon.
What's it? I was going to say, what did you guys think of Abomination's kind of look? Because it was definitely different from the comics. So seeing it kind of become like this, I was like a little taken aback, like, whoa, this is different. Because I was like, I had this picture of like, I wonder how they're gonna like, incorporate the whole look about him.
I was actually really into it. I didn't need the weird fish ears. I mean, I really like the fish ears. They're really appealing from an artistic point of view. So they work great in the comics, and they work great if you're like a figure collector, which we all are. Yeah.
I have the Diamond Colette right now in my room.
Yeah.
Abomination. It's great. I mean, he's huge, scaly, which is another thing they didn't add scales.
Well, I think they kind of replaced scales with this one with kind of the bones, which I feel like it kind of adds a certain sense of like, it's a little bit more of a relative, monstrous look. Because if they did the scales, it kind of adds this whole like, I wonder what scales feel like. Whereas when you see kind of like this guy with a bit of an endoskeleton, or exoskeleton, I should say, he's like, it's like a little bit of a, oh, I kind of like know what that feels like.
Yeah.
It gives you an extra sense.
Makes you cringe when his spine is like popping out of his back or protruding.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they did keep it true to the comics somewhat, because his toes still split into two like big chunks. I remember having the action figure of the movie Abomination, who I mean, he was a great figure. I mostly used him, pretended he was Doomsday, because there was never really a good Doomsday figure, and probably never will be. But yeah, he was just such a great looking figure. And
Well, that's Mattel's fault. Don't blame it on.
well, no, I was talking about the movies too, but
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, like I really dig the look of Abomination, and it was just I think it's probably the last type of non-Disney uh, MCU thing we'll get, just because
I
of
was
how kind of gruesome it was.
I was gonna say it definitely fits into one of the more iconic MCU looks. A lot of the times, you could just be like, oh, that's kind of like it's not as recognizable because it falls flush with the comics so much. However, like, um, when you see Captain America in the MCU look, you kind of see the tacticalness of it. When you see let's say the Spider-Man Homecoming version, they took a design that stands out and is their own. I feel like this one holds itself up into one of the other uh, most recognizable, like, oh, that's the MCU. And I like how they took their take on it because it's a unique design.
Right. And we also get the scene where Abomination's wrecking Harlem and the soldiers, first of all, say booyah after shooting the bazooka missile, but the fact that he grabs it and like I think shoves it into his head like a beer can, and then he smiles and he's kind of like sort of having fun being evil, like he's just doing it, he's just playing around. And I forgot his name. Tim Roth was great at doing this like slowly sinister character that we get throughout the movie. Because first he was military, then he got the super soldier serum, just a small dose, and then he got the full super soldier serum, made him crazy, and then we see him get the 14% strength of Hulk blood in him, making him. Would you say insane or just?
I think so, a little bit. But I think it's also just a combination of him being so bent on obtaining power. He
Yeah,
becomes power hungry.
this is junk on power. I wouldn't necessarily say it's in complete insanity, but I would say it's definitely kind of like that whole like whatever they say, it got the bloodlust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
drunk
that's
on
good.
power is a great way to define this
Yeah, because
character.
he gets the fever, the Hulk fever, just like General Ross does, but he kind of ends up go too far with it. I mean, technically in the comics, General Ross does the same thing because he ends up being Red Hulk. But I mean, that's all it is that everyone's kind of driven to a point of they bring out the monsters within themselves and stuff like that. So I feel yeah, I think the actor did a good job.
Right. We also have to remember that when you take the super soldier serum, we know that it reveals who you truly are with inside, based on what happened in First Avenger, the movie. So we kind of know that,
Oh, that's true.
right? Em, Emily Blonsky. I'm calling him Emily. I'm looking at it. There's no Y.
You were going on about how you like the actor so much and the character, and you don't even know what to call him.
Yeah, sorry, Tim Roth. Tim Roth kind of reveals himself to be who he truly is in that one scene in the helicopter. And also, Dr. Cosmic did himself a great impression. Can you do it one more time?
I'll try. I can't. I'll do it. I'll do it when
The
you're not
the
expecting.
Okay.
The Cockney accent that he has.
It's absolutely wonderful how he takes to this role and fully dives into a whole kind of like, yeah, like a junkie. Like he needs another fix of power. He needs to be he needs his strength. I just really love this
He
actor.
needs his strength because he feels like a monster.
Super
There you
great,
go. There you go.
award winning. If MCU ever needs another Blonsky,
Don't
we
call
know
us. Don't
call
call
it.
us. Just pass this over in the phone book or
Don't.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just keep on going.
So let's see.
You got the whole
But
Harlem fight, which again Marvel doesn't completely ignore because you see this later on. Again, spoilers for Daredevil. You see in the background of Ben Urich's
It's not really a spoiler. Nobody's really gonna see it unless you're like us and freeze frame everything.
Well, I mean, I thought it was good that like this movie isn't forgotten. I feel like and some people treat it kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the MCU because it doesn't fall in line exactly with their plan, you know? Because there was just a little bit of a recast because I think if I remember, Edward Norton was kind of a it was kind of tough to work with because he kept on like rewriting the script every like day. So like they would reshoot a scene and then he would like change something and they're like redid it again. I think there's like a bunch of times where you can see like he doesn't look the same. Like he has like he goes from long hair to short hair and like two uh you know continuous
Oh,
scenes or something like that.
speaking of which, I'm so glad you brought up hair. That was a really weird transition, but I forgot to mention that when he transforms into Hulk, even though I love Edward Norton, probably I don't know. I don't want to say more than Mark Ruffalo because I really like Mark Ruffalo, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
But anyway, when he transforms into Hulk, the weirdest thing uh, for me that I couldn't really get past, it kind of irks me every time I watch it, is how his hair goes from like a brownish color to the black. And I guess, like in the TV series, which is a little bit older, a little bit more campy, his hair, went from a natural color to green, so uh, you can kind of make the jump in your mind. But yeah, the suspension of disbelief wasn't all too much there for me.
I could see that. I kind of just feel like for me, Edward Norton, he does bring kind of his own kind of personality. I mean, with Fight Club, in his history, him playing
Yeah,
this
for sure.
role, it's totally like a shoe-in for him. He knows how to play that duality of a split personality character. Um, but I also kind of would want him in the Avengers because Mark Ruffalo, he like this is a little bit of my Wolverine Hugh Jackman kind of complaint is that he's too tall. I mean, it feels like everyone's kind of cookie cutter in a way. They're all the same height. They're all just like have different. Like where's shout out to the short people? Come on. Edward Norton's short. He turns into the big Hulk. So like that would have been more of a jump in your mind. Like, oh, he's this little like scientist nerd guy, and to turn into the big Hulk, it's like more incredible. No pun intended.
Right. Uh, I think Samuel Stern said something about that. Like, I wouldn't assume such great power is being held in such a tiny man shaking my hand. And you're like, yeah, that's really what Hulk's all about. Just really don't judge the book by the gamma radiation.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't give Edward Norton a bad rap because he had to shoot basically by himself most of the movie toward the beginning. Like he was in Rio. Is it Rio de Janeiro? Is that
You
how
can
you
just
say it?
call it. You can just call it Rio.
I'm just gonna call it Rio. He was in Rio shooting in the like hot weather, the humidity. He was. They actually filmed in Antarctica in the freezing cold, and the deleted scene that wasn't even get to use. He filmed also in Guatemala where it was pouring rain
But
nonstop.
do you think that was like the director slash producer's decision, or do you think that was Ed Norton's decision? Because I feel like Edward Norton would be kind of the person to be like, yeah, I can handle going to the Antarctic. I can handle that. Like it would make it more feel natural and stuff like that, and insisted on doing it. Because
Right.
from what I understand is he like even wanted like writer's credit because he did so much rewrites of the script. But the WGA, yeah, the people like denied him, so he's not technically credited. But I think there's some like, posters that leaked out where it has him under his pseudonym, whatever it is or whatever. But yeah, I think he's kind of has a little bit of more of a he has an artist's like mind, and he wants to be like recognized for the work he did. So it's like it's a little bit like you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, I was
Uh,
gonna say I agree with Tim. I don't know Edward Norton personally.
I do. Yeah, I call him Ed.
Actually, yeah,
Eddie.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Me and
Oh,
him
We
were tight.
talked yesterday.
Yeah,
Both of you.
I
Okay.
called him up earlier and was me and Chaz we all hang out. We talk
Yeah. We were talking
yeah.
about your mother.
Okay.
uh yeah, among various other topics.
Did you
Uh
talk about me at all? Did you guys mention me?
no.
Oh,
He specifically says
He doesn't like guys named Steven.
okay.
uh but yeah, I told him we were doing this and he said he'd give it a listen, so
Wow. Okay. Well,
He was like, they denied me Stephen Strange, so
now that's actually a thought. Edward Norton as Doctor Strange.
that is
no.
a thought.
Ah, that is a thought.
Sorry. No thanks.
Okay.
But yeah, so back to Battle of Harlem.
Battle of
They're
Harlem,
they're duking it out. We get
we
the
get
Hulk fists.
Hulk clap.
Oh yeah.
Hulk
Hulk
clap
smash.
was the
We also got
Hulk
a Hulk
smash.
smash in there.
Hulk smash.
Yeah. I think that's well wait, did in the Ang Lee movie, did he ever say Hulk smash? I don't think he talked.
I don't think he did. I don't think
Yeah.
he did.
I don't think he
And
talked.
we
And
get
then Captain America says it for him later on. I don't think we ever get a Hulk smash. This is the only time.
yeah. I don't think Mark Ruffalo ever says Hulk smash.
They're probably saving it for Infinity War.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds better, I think, though, in Lou Ferrigno's voice. Obviously, it's not just his voice; it's edited just like Mark Ruffalo's is. But it just sounds like a little bit more guttural and like impressive, like just how I imagined reading it, off the page. And also the thunderclap is such an iconic move or signature move from Hulk, and we both get him kind of like back to back in this scene. I think it kind of makes up for, I have to say, how little damage Hulk does to A-Bomb, because from the Hulk goes from 0 to 60 real quick, and I know Hulk angry here gets stronger he gets, as we all know, but I feel like it was just like 1, 2 down for the count.
Right. I think he punched him a couple of times with the cop car boxing gloves, which I don't know why isn't a toy for little kids. If we can have Hulk hands, why can't we have cop car boxing gloves? But and then he chokes him out. Oh no, he stabs him also with his elbow bone, which was
Mm-hmm.
terrifying as well.
Rips
Um,
the bone.
yeah, he just
Yeah,
rips
I
him.
think both the beginning part in the bottling factory and the this end part where he's going ham on A-Bomb, that got me. I'm like, are we supposed to be cheering for this guy? Like, I get it, but
Oh, and then when he's hanging on to him on the helicopter, and he kind
yeah,
of cracks his back.
yeah,
Oh, jeez.
he gets his fingers in it. He's deep getting that
Yeah.
grip.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good end scene. I think also the spotlight kind of makes him gray in that also that whole end credit scene and stuff like that, which I felt was pretty cool that they kind of like reference like Gray Hulk, which it's not my favorite Hulk. I like keeping that in that whole Joe Fix-It persona, but I appreciate the nod toward the original.
Yeah, I'm not too much a big fan of Joe Fixit, but I like
Oh, okay. Well,
like I like.
I didn't know we could stop being friends. I didn't know that. I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
But yeah, every time that scene comes on that you were mentioning, with the helicopter light coming over him, he does look a little gray, and I always pause it because I'm like, man, Gray Hulk.
Would you want this movie with like kind of like where Logan did a black and white version? Would you want a gray version kind of where it's just the Hulk is replaced with Gray Hulk?
I hadn't even thought about that, Tim, but now I'm gonna go right now. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna leave right now, and then I'm gonna make a little edit of this
Start a
movie.
petition.
I'll just make it myself.
Yeah, start a petition. Yeah, start a petition.
Well,
Hit up Dr. Cosmic on Instagram.
well,
Say, hey, I'm here to join the cause.
isn't Gray Hulk less like more less angry? He's just more grumpy, I thought.
Actually,
I think it was just a colored choice. I don't think he has actually any.
well, because they brought it back multiple times, and there was one instance where uh, it was him sort of gaining a little bit more control, so he was a little bit smaller and
Yeah,
not as big.
Yeah,
Um,
Joe Fixit is considered the smaller Hulk.
yeah, well, he's a lot smaller because the one I'm talking about,
Right.
I can't remember what storyline, but anyway, he's kind of like medium-sized Hulk, and he's not too much smarter. He's kind of like right in between, which is kind of where I like my Hulk to be at. I don't want him to be, cracking jokes or anything like, yeah, being all witty like Joe Fixit, but I also don't want him being like a caveman.
Right.
Um, but yeah, anyway, Grey Hulk. I hope they somehow bring Grey Hulk into the cinematic universe
Right.
one day.
Speaking of
It,
the cinematic universe, I have to, I found it interesting to point out that this is kind of a lot of firsts with this movie. Or I guess exclusive things. That this is the only MCU movie without an end credit scene.
what? Is
Yeah,
it?
he's
This
right.
is because the Tony Stark scene happens at the end of the movie, but not after the credits, and there's no mid credit scene either.
Well, oh, I thought the Tony thing was a mid. Oh no,
No,
you're right. Yeah, it
yeah,
happens.
it happens just right after.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. The
they
whole
were they were probably gonna use that as either a mid or a post, but it would have broken up the flow too much. So,
For me, I think they were just trying to extend their runtime.
or
for
that,
me,
yeah,
I think nobody showed up in the
Because
Iron Man end credit
does the
scene.
runtime include credits? I don't think the runtime technically includes credits,
yeah,
but
no, it does.
okay.
I
I don't know
think
why.
nobody showed up to the end credit scene on Iron Man, and they're like, "Hey, nobody knows about this. Just put it at the end, not the end credits, but just the end." And then
Yeah, it might have been a universal thing.
they were like, "What? What happened? I gotta watch Iron Man again." Guess so. It's the
Well,
whole
yeah. Well, this movie had a lot of contenders in 2008. I think Dark Knight also got released in the same year, and
Yep.
what was the other one? Keep forgetting the other movie that it was going up against. But I could again definitely see people's issues with this.
right. I think that's a good little segue, Tim, into our most controversial. Oh no, I'm trying to get
Are
this.
are you trying to say, Steven, if I'm reading you correctly, are you saying we're headed into the negative zone?
That's exactly what I'm saying. We are in the negative zone where we'll see everybody's take out our rose-colored glasses off and see what other people had to say about this movie.
All right, I'm on board as soon as you move that little mouse cursor.
Okay, where?
And right where the mouse cursor is, just there you go. That's pretty good. Yeah, just a little out of the way. All right, awesome. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's just all right. Cool. Yeah, negative zone. No, I'm excited.
Okay. That's where my mouse was all the time, but let's just get into it.
I know, I know. I thought I was willing for it to move with my mind this whole time.
So I have here, I got mine from IMBD if you guys want to at home look it up and see horrible people like J. Mitch Al Walker on June 20th, 2008. 1 out of 10 stars says horrible. And his main problem is with William Hurt, General Thunderbolt Ross. For some reason, I saw a lot of these in here, is that he's complaining about his long hair and mustache. It says William Hurt should not, I repeat, not play army officers. He looks asleep as he is delivering his lines. His hair is too long and his mustache is past the edge of his mouth. The gas mask can't seal for you if you have hair past your lips. There are some who would defend this junk. To them I say, taxi scene, researcher scene, lines delivered by the super soldier Tim Roth. The only shining moment in this piece of crap is the cameo by Lou Ferrigno. Great to see you, Lou. We wish you well. The rest of the cast, shame on you. If you must see this film, and I feel sorry for you, you need help. Wait for the DVD.
Sounds like a
that's the Incredible Hulk TV show fan. I feel like
that's what I was fixing to say. Yeah, a purist.
Which there are a lot of, but he makes it sound like General Ross just got off a plane from Afghanistan or something. I mean, he's a general. He can do whatever he wants, right? He doesn't listen to anybody.
Well, I mean, I doubt that in that sense of what you're saying, he's going to rebel by having long hair. I think if anything, it's just that they wanted to make it such like you said, a different character from the actor, that they might have went a little overboard. But I don't think it was noticeable for anybody perhaps not in the military to notice those kind of details. But
Right.
I think it works fine. I feel like the costume designers did a real good job with him.
Yeah, I'm surprised they brought up his hair and not his mumbling, because the mumbling didn't get to me. But I remember my brother, after we had seen the movie, he was like, "Man, that guy mumbles a lot. It sounds like a drunk." I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of the point. He's kind of a..."
He might have been.
I mean, the only time he's really screaming is when he is screaming at his daughter to get back here. I don't know how many times he said it, but he's always screaming, "Get her back here! Get her back here!" Like, dude, just let her be.
I think it's
let her go run into the war zone. Come on. Wait, if you hold them too close like that, you're just gonna make them want to run off more. I totally see what you're saying, Steve.
Yeah. Like, sometimes she's your daughter. Slack. You gotta let her learn through experience of, if you get shot, you get shot. Maybe you shouldn't run into a war zone, honey. You want to stick your head out of a helicopter, go ahead. I mean, if you're missing an eye, don't cry to me. I told you. That's common sense.
Does your PhD mean that you have a gun license? Get out of here.
Yeah.
I have a review by Danny G. It says, it's a bad sign when you hear members of the audience groan, but it's not hard to figure out why. This movie was marketed as appropriate for adult audience, but if the filmmakers were honest, they would have marketed The Incredible Hulk strictly as a young teen/child flick instead. Could you please make your next comic book related film as brilliant? This is where you kind of lost me. Make your next comic book related film as brilliant as Spider-Man #3, X-Men #2, the last Superman film, or as good as any of the 6 Star Wars films. Is that asking too much? There are adults who like a good story just as much as you, Hollywood, like to make a ton of money. I was like, okay, the fact that he's incorporating Spider-Man 3
and with the Star Wars prequels,
and the Star Wars prequels, all the Star Wars films with X-Men 2 and the last Superman film, which was, I think, in 2008. Was Superman Returns already out, or no?
Yes. Returns was in 2006.
Yeah. Okay. So Superman Returns, Spider-Man 3, and the prequels are all on this guy's all-star list.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Well, Superman Returns is,
it's not.
We'll
bad.
talk about that later. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I don't know if we'll ever talk about it. So if you want,
what rating did you give it? The movie.
Oh, this movie.
I'm surprised.
Or Superman Returns. This movie or Superman Returns?
No, I don't care about Superman Returns.
You go ahead, Chaz. If you got your final thoughts on this.
Final thoughts. I really enjoyed all of the characters. Maybe Thunderbolt Ross a little less than the other. But I mean, you had a great villain who had, even though his intentions or motivation was kind of just, get more power, I think it was still compelling enough just because of his background and everything. And then, of course, we have Betty and her relationship with Bruce. And I kind of agree with Tim. She was a little bit too much of the damsel in distress. But I still just think she had really good chemistry. So maybe that's a little bit more on the credit towards the actress than maybe some of the writing and the character herself. But and then obviously Edward Norton. I mean, it doesn't get Bruce Banner has never been better than with Edward Norton. Again, I like Mark Ruffalo, but in Avengers he was a little bit awkward. He kind of made his footing in what was it? Age of Ultron. But yeah, he just really hasn't stuck with me like Edward has. And I think it's a pity that we will never get to see how he would have reacted with some of the other characters or bounced off of the other characters in Avengers. But yeah, overall, oh, sorry, I kind of skipped my rating. Overall, out of 6 Infinity Stones, I would give this film, I would give it 3 and maybe a half of a fourth. I mean, of the fourth stone. So 3.5 stones.
That's a fair rating. I feel that's a good fair rating. For me personally, I feel like the one that is good. I like this movie. I feel like it has a lot more rewatchability for me than comparing it to Iron Man. Like if either of these were on, let's say separate channels or something like that, or I only got time to watch one on the flight or something like that, I think I would choose Incredible Hulk over Iron Man. However, I don't think it. Well, I guess it would deserve kind of like the same score I gave Iron Man, which is 5 out of 6 Infinity Stones. Um, I feel like this is the best Hulk movie we're gonna get, and I don't think we're gonna be getting another one. So you kind of have to accept it what it is, which isn't a terrible, terrible movie. I feel like it has a lot of shining moments in it. I feel like a lot of the people that worked on it tried to do their best to represent the source material as well as a bunch of other versions that fans and audience liked. So I feel like gotta play the hand you're dealt. And this one, I think this one does a kind of really shines.
I think for me, I agree with some of these negative zone residents. How William Hurt may have hurt the film. Huh? Get it? All right. But there are a lot of deleted scenes in the movie, if you buy the DVD, that you get to see where he has a little bit more acting chops. I'm trying to think what the director in an interview said. He said something like he compared Bruce Banner's and the whole to Tim. You're gonna have to help me out. The Greek uphill rock mythology guy,
Sisyphus.
Cephesus.
Yes.
Whatever. And I mean, because that's really what Bruce Banner is all about to me. Like just the uphill battle of struggling with this Hulk that he's trying to get out. He's just trying to push it, trying to cure himself, trying to get rid of it, but keep it out of the army's hands.
Did you watch this movie with commentary? Did
Well,
you like that movie that much?
the fact that it was
yeah. Go ahead.
it was Tim Roth and Louis Leterrier that did the commentary. I did watch it, and then I watched it again without the commentary. It's amazing. And you know what? For that reason, I'm putting on the Infinity Gauntlet and giving this movie 6 out of 6 Infinity Stones.
Oh, wow.
Boom! First time on Watchers Week, my favorite movie out of the MCU.
Whoa, hold it.
Whoa.
Man, first I want to apologize to anybody wearing headphones. Probably should have put a warning up before the thing. Wow, okay, yeah.
That escalated quickly.
I believe it. Steven was cast, even throughout this whole thing, seemed to really be on board with this take on Hulk. And like I said, I think this is the best solo Hulk movie we're gonna get.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I really wanted to give it 4, but yeah, I don't know.
I think it gets 5 out of 6 for me because not only is it a good movie, but it's also doesn't have any Hulk dogs in it. So
that is true.
that
Very
put it
true.
that put it over the top for me.
PETA would have been all over it. Disney would have not bought Marvel ever.
Oh, geez, man! If that could the 2003 Hulk, if it got replaced with the 2008, could that have ruined the chance of the MCU starting back up again and Disney buying it? Or was this movie great and amazing as it is the savior of the MCU and what we get on May 4th, Infinity War?
I think they would have bought it regardless. Maybe just not the Hulk. Hulk would have just stayed at Universal. Well, I mean, he's still there, but he's like in some sort of weird stasis.
I think
he's in the negative zone. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that once they realize how many nerds were filling in the theater seats to these movies, they saw themselves a cash machine, which, you know, hey, it's the truth. So I think they wanted to jump on this and give it the old, you know, Disney magic.
Yep, Disney overlord monopoly magic. Well, I think that about does it. We gave our reviews. We went into the negative zone. Timothy, where can people find you if they don't want to hear me screaming about how great this movie is?
Awesome. You know, I think the nice, safe, quiet place could be on my Instagram page at Fishbone Malone. There I talk about figs, comics, and movies. I'm getting hyped up for Black Panther that's coming out next month. So yeah, I think we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Can't wait for that. And yeah, I think so far that's about it. Again, some stuff in the work, but I'll let you know as soon as anything comes up from that.
Right. Dr. Cosmic, where can people find you to get all your wonderful ideas of cross-merger MCU movies?
You can find me exclusively on Instagram at Dr. Cosmic, and that's with a K-O-Z, not a C-O-S. Yeah, and there I post a lot of figure art pics, but also, yeah, figure arts will be coming soon. Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about the next film.
All right. Well, everybody, you can find me. I'm going to talk as quietly as I can. Just sorry about that. Again, apologize.
Just bring it down a little bit. Bring it down nice and soft.
Hey, the power you get when you put on the Infinity Glove, it gets to your head.
Yeah, I had no control.
That's why Thanos is so obsessed with it. He just wants that rush. He's an adrenaline junkie.
Well, sometimes you leave your body, you just go into the astral realm. Gets crazy.
Who knows?
Eternity's like, get out of here.
Who can blame you?
Our audience is probably like, these guys are smoking something.
You can find me on Instagram at _nerdtron. You can also find me on Marvel's Contest of Champions, mobile game. Join me on my alliance, Skull Kill Crew SKK. I'm the leader, Schmebulok. I wouldn't want to brag, but we're doing pretty well. As long as you log in every day, we would happy to welcome you. Guys, anything you want to add? Or shall we end this wonderful week of watching?
I'm sorry, this is a dumb question. What is our next film?
Thor, I think.
Thor. Oh, yeah.
Where's the cap?
Yeah, see, that's what I was getting confused with.
Tune in next week to decide.
You're just going to have to find out. Bam, right. Son. Not spoiler. Cliffhanger. Boom. What
Cliffhanger.
up?
Hold on. Let me fact check that.
Splash
Don't end on that.
page. Splash page cliffhanger.
Hold on. I'm fact checking. It's Iron Man 2. I was going to say it's the sequel.
What?
We're revisiting Iron Man. We're going back to Iron Man.
That's okay. That's what I was thinking. Who said Captain America?
I did.
Oh yeah.
That's the
I
fourth
thought it was
one.
either Thor or or Iron Man.
Thor is 4. Captain America is 5th. Iron Man 2 is 3rd.
Where's
Got
Cap? 3rd?
5th. Cap is 5th.
Okay. You may find me next week. I'll probably be sick next week. So it probably is just going to be Dr. Cosmic and Timothy on Iron Man 2. That's a little preview of how I feel about Iron Man 2.
Are you planning how to... Oh, I was going to say, are you planning to be sick?
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
you know,
is that
I
a
think,
premonition of the future?
Iron Man
I think I got infected when I put on the Infinity Gauntlet.
You got the time stone in there, and you were just like, boom, see the future, son.
I'm feeling under the weather, probably. No, we're always here for you guys. We're always here for you watchers out there watching the movie, taking the journey to infinity. Let's not forget where we're at.
Hashtag Journey to Infinity.
Journey to Infinity. That does it, folks. Now, see you next week for Iron Man 2. I probably